Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share an update on my experience with the Sony Xperia 1 Mark II. Now at $1,200 US, this is one of the most expensive smartphones on the market. I'm currently reviewing the Note 20 Ultra as well. I'll likely be doing a comparison between the two, but I've spent enough time with this to give you some initial impressions. So first and foremost, 6.5-inch AMOLED display, 4K resolution, front-firing speakers, no cutout in the screen for a selfie camera, which I love. The selfie camera right there up at the top, 10 megapixels, not the best I've ever seen, but those front-firing stereo speakers are fantastic. We still have a good old 3.5mm headphone jack. Go try to find one of those these days. We have volume rocker right here on the side, fingerprint scanner, which also doubles as the power button, more importantly, and a shutter button. Thank you, Sony. I don't know why all these companies are making photocentric phones, but leaving shutter buttons off the to-do list. Type-C charging at the bottom. We also have, of course, Qi charging. And on the other side of the phone, we have our micro SD card slot and SIM card slot. Storage expansion is a go on this, which is definitely a good thing. And you don't need a SIM tool to gain access. I've never understood why phone manufacturers expect us to be carrying SIM tools in order to get a micro SD card out of our device. On the back, we've got the stars of the show, 3 cameras, a 16, 24, and 70mm, no actual optical zoom, of course, stabilization on board, and these are some of the best cameras I've ever seen on a smartphone. Very light on the software, which means great overall performance, great battery life. I mean, the battery management on here, I'm shocked. There's only a 4,000 milliamp hour battery. I expected it to get crushed, and that just hasn't been the case. Now, taking a look at their photo apps, they've got a Pro mode, which you're seeing right here, which really gives you the experience of using one of their alpha cameras. And that's exactly what they should be, in my opinion, going after, because if you know Sony, you know that their DI business is amazing. I mean, they've really done a phenomenal job. And, you know, having this built in is great. Same applies to their Cinema Pro app. And everybody has already tried their hand at this to some degree, at least, you know, what I've seen with the Samsung Note 20 Ultra, and they all pale in comparison to the Pro modes. And I'll get into this in my full review. But the question is, will regular users ever touch this? In all likelihood, regular users are going to stick with the regular camera app. And the regular camera app still works with the shutter button, which is great. You still get 20 frames per second. Here, watch this. You hear it going and going and going. You still get eye autofocus. You still get, subject tracking, real-time tracking. But bear in mind that if you want to get the most out of this device, it's going to happen, and I mean the cameras, in the Pro modes. So that's where it's a bit of a head scratcher. So if you're looking to replace an RX 100 or a full frame camera, that's not going to happen with this. And maybe the Pro mode, there is a Pro version of this phone on the horizon, maybe that's where they will integrate a 1-inch sensor, and I will be sold instantly, because if somehow a phone can replace my RX 100, you better believe it will end up in my pocket. It doesn't matter how accustomed I am to Samsung's ecosystem and I love the S Pen, or how excited I am about folding devices like my Z Flip or the Z Fold 2. If they throw a 1-inch sensor in here and give me a 3 times, not even a 5 times optical zoom, I will purchase the device, especially knowing what the experience is like on this, because it's been excellent. Call quality is fantastic. Again, multimedia, the 4K display, you actually have a content creator mode where you get color accuracy. That's not something you hear about very often, right? With Samsung and Apple, especially Samsung, who paved the way for AMOLEDs in smartphones, the colors have always been oversaturated to holy hell in order to wow us, which is a good thing. But this device, because they have the Pro Photo or Photo Pro and Cinema Pro modes, has been refined to give you true 10-bit accuracy, so that what you're shooting is what you're getting, what you're seeing on screen. That's another amazing thing. Now, is that going to appeal to mainstream regular users who are not already Sony users? And I don't mean Sony camera users. I just mean regular smartphone owners. That's where I think Sony runs into a problem. And the fact that this is the first device that I'm reviewing, a smartphone from Sony, in I don't know how many years. Also speaks to their footprint here in the US. So even though they make over half of the world's smartphone camera sensors, and this was a no-brainer to integrate their success in the DI business with their eye autofocus for humans and pets and the real-time tracking, the fact that people aren't already accustomed to Sony as a brand of smartphone in the US, I mean, this is the first flagship smartphone they've made that will work on Verizon. And I get it, they've been after the GSM market. By the way, this doesn't support 5G. I mean, the Snapdragon 865 is a great chip. Don't need the Plus, but the Plus has the 5G on board. So from a future-proofing standpoint, that's not great. In addition to that, I mean, I think the 8 gigs of RAM is fine. At this price point, would I have liked to have seen 12? Yeah, but who's doing 12 other than Samsung, who makes their own internals? Get it? You see what I'm talking about there? And from a storage standpoint, 256 gigs, much better than the 128 I have on the Note 20 Ultra to my left. So from a spec standpoint, they got it all right. I mean, IP68 rating, you can get this wet, it's dust resistant. So it does so many things so well. But to get people to come over from other brands, they had to do more, in my opinion. And this isn't, just an update, but they had to do more than just give us a great camera system that emulates, and emulate is the key word, emulates performance of their best DI tools. Because that's really what it does. I mean, at the end of the day, you don't have a 1-inch sensor, so even though you can take great photos, you're not going to get the images that you will, out of a 1-inch sensor device like an RX100. And I've heard so many people say it so many different times that, oh, the 1-inch sensors don't really do much better than my smartphone. You clearly haven't ever taken that image and looked at it on a high-resolution display. That's just complete crap. So I do find, by the way, the 24 millimeter, lens sensor combo, the middle of the 3-camera array, is the sweet spot on this device, which is not surprising. And things don't get crushed. On my Note 20 Ultra, when I zoom in and pixel peep, things are crushed. Here, sharp as hell. So definitely the best cameras I've seen on a smartphone. The fact that I can actually take 20 frames per second and moving, whether it's my dog, cat, whatever it may be, things stay sharp. And I'll see if I can pull up a sample for you. Let me just see. Make sure there's, let me jump in here. I mean, that's another thing. Here we go. Got Barkley in action. So that's another thing that I really appreciate. So here he's just running along and details are not getting crushed. We're not in a watercolor painting. On my Note 20 Ultra, this is a watercolor painting. But, then there are bugs. As I go through this, when I get to this image, see how it's still showing the image we were just on? Once I zoom or touch, then you're on that image. So there are some software things, and this shows the maturation or lack thereof that Sony needs to work on, but I don't think that's a big deal. That's something that can be addressed easily. And the fact that they've kept it so light on the software side, outside of their Cinema Pro and Photo Pro applications, is the beauty of this device. And, in my full review, I'll get into 4K video playback, all of that good stuff, the multimedia features, but right now, it is tough to beat this phone if you are not loyal to a brand. And that's Sony's biggest hurdle, in my opinion. Another thing you should know is that the real-time tracking, while fantastic, is not available in 4K video recording, and I experienced nearly instantaneous overheating with the 4K video capture. Ironic? No. I mean, it's Sony, and I hate to say they're synonymous with overheating. That's not something you will experience with your Samsung or Apple device. So that's another thing Sony's got to get on. If you know something I don't, post it in the comments. I'm more than happy. Information and knowledge equate to power. So I want to know if I'm missing something, but as it stands right now, real-time tracking is only available in full HD video recording, and when capturing 4K video, granted I'm in a hot and humid environment, but it still should be able to record for more than a minute without being shut out of the camera app, which is what I experienced. So if this is going to be all about the camera and video, the DI world, the capability, and it's got to work, even in the conditions where I am, I'm not in Manhattan in the winter, but still, it's got to function. And right now, that's a hurdle that I haven't been able to get over. So I think Sony's made a winner. That is really the roundup on the update. I think they've done just about everything right. And if this is the beginning of them laying the groundwork, then I think it's a really good start. Did they come in too high on price? Yes, I think this should have started at $899. And I know this seems like a full review. That's just the way I roll. But had they started at $900, I think they would have been in good shape. Starting off at $12, I think was too high, especially when anyone interested in this device knew that they teased a Pro version. So God knows what they were thinking they were going to sell that at, but I guess they figured, let's see what happens with this first, and then decide if it's ever going to even materialize, because I haven't heard that the Pro has a date or an ETA. Granted, we're all still going through this COVID crisis. But that rounds things out. Great phone, wireless charging, again, waterproofing, great processor, solid amount of RAM, solid amount of internal storage expandability, one of the best 4K displays on the market, actually color accurate. The Pro modes are great. One-handed usability is real, not a dream like it is on this giant phablet. And pixel density is higher than on that 6.9-inch display on that phablet. But that doesn't mean everybody's going to run out and buy it, right? It absolutely doesn't. And that's, again, one of Sony's, in my opinion, one of their biggest issues to grapple with is that if you want people to cross over to your brand, you've got to make it compelling. And I think this is compelling, but I think pricing is where they really could have, cut down competition. And they didn't do that. And this will go on sale like everything else. So I think it'll be a great buy when it does start to see some clearance pricing. But as I mentioned, they're still bundling those headphones that were a pre-order special for free, which retail for around, I think $200, $230. They're still bundled in there if you buy this right now. So that tells you this may have fallen a little bit flat. But I don't think it deserves to have fallen flat, because this is only an update. But in this update, I'm telling you, this is one of the best phones I have ever touched. Any questions or comments, please feel free to post them. Hit that like button. And as usual, please feel free to subscribe. Later. Oh, and by the way, please stay safe. Later.